Welcome to our latest guest, Alberto Guerrini, known as the powerhouse Gabber Eleganza. DJ, producer, and all-round creator, Alberto started Gabber Eleganza by blogging and reporting about hardcore and the rave culture of the 90s that had engulfed through his teenage years. Fast forward to present day, and Alberto finds himself running his own imprint Never Sleep, as well as the Hakke Show, a performance that has already graced a long list of events such as Berghain, Horst Arts Festival, and Rye Wax, to name a few. In this podcast, we discuss the beginning of the first Italian hardcore events, as well as the Italian rave scene from Stronghold, Rome, and Bergamo. We discover Gabber Eleganza's main aim that has taken the Gabber culture into very different contexts, shifting public perception of hardcore by offering a different and closer perspective from the inside. We also hear of Alberto's story and progress from the early days right to the lockdown obstacles, and how he met and befriended Lorenzo Senni and Mino Luchena. And we get insights into his way of living the music he loves. Without further ado, please enjoy today's guest. Welcome, Gabber Eleganza.
Alberto, thanks so much for being with us. It's a pleasure to meet you and have you.
Thank you, guys.
First of all, for people who don't know you, if someone asks you, hey Alberto, what do you do in life? How would you answer that question?
Yes, mostly of my job, we call it a job, is a DJ and music producer. So, but I'm flirting also with other type of creative. So my roots are definitely DJ and rave, because I'm starting with this when I was 16. So It's definitely my roots. And but in the meantime, of course, I fallen in love with different other discipline, and so now I mix all this kind of my journey into Gabber Eleganza. So the visual side, so as a sort of creative and artist somehow. So I'm working also as a curator and researcher, of course, researcher for me, but also for other people that are asking and looking deeply into rave and subculture, also in general. And of course, mainly of my job is related to music. So DJ, label manager, and ER, and curator for events, and of course, music producer.
Right, yes. And I want to ask you a couple of questions around your origins as a DJ and producer, and also as Gabber Eleganza eventually. Let's start from the first part, which is you were born and you grew up in Bergamo, which is, for people who don't know, north of Italy. What influenced your musical taste when you were growing up? You mentioned you started DJing when you were 16. Was there any particular event or?
That area in Italy from when I was a kid, but I mean from late 70s and early 80s, was always one of the epicenter of disco and discotheque movement in Italy, North Italy, because from Milan to Venice, you have one of the biggest highway, it's called A4, and every city in Italy have very full of discotheque. So from the big boom of the golden age of disco music, especially in Bologna area and in Emilia-Romagna, it's development in all Italy. So that specific parts of Italy, like Bergamo and Brescia, a little bit also Verona, the area where I grew up is Bergamo, but this kind of is very close to each other. It's full of discotheque from every range of music and type. It's a rich area somehow, and also a lot of working class area. So people work hard, but also want to party hard. And they have money to spend. They used to have money to spend. Now it's a bit different, but they used to have a big boom of the 80s. And in the 90s, with of course, the new trend of house and techno music, in Italy, the idea of a rave, I'm going to occupy a space, a field like in UK or in France or in Benelux, is never really exist, because Italy is full of discotheque. So,
Yeah.
and biggest, but like 1,000 of capacity. So people start to rave in a disco. And so all this kind of rave music actually you discover through the disco. And I discovered through my cousin. So you have the classic old cousin that's
It's taking you to the party.
So I grew up in an area where in the countryside, working class, tough area somehow, but I mean, chill in the countryside.
Yeah.
30 minutes by car from Bergamo in the south, in the field called Pianura Padana. And I mean, the most popular music for the cool kids was metal or hardcore, like a hardcore pumping music, or a little bit progressive trance also was cool, but a little bit for older kids. So if you are at 12, 19, you were very attracted by outrageous music. So that is my heritage. And Bergamo was a very biggest area for house production, techno production, and of course later in the 90s, hardcore production. So it's a good epicenter for club music in Italy. And Brescia too, and of course Milano. But Milano definitely different because it's more like a fashion city, and everybody from Milan they moved to Bergamo and Brescia disco to come to dance. So there is this kind of traveling culture somehow that is interesting. And my music taste, my heritage, my roots is come from that. You know, people pass each other the playlist on the cassette, listen music in the parking spot. Quite old school, I know, but it's still, I think, somehow very fascinating because you should discover somehow the music it wasn't very easy to discover. And you should know someone, it could be your brother or sister, it could be your cousin, it could be old friends. So there was something like a secret, and everybody was very jealous to give you your music. So there was this kind of very digging. Also, if you are not a DJ somehow, you dig in always stuff to understand, oh, this is the cool tapes. Everybody is like everywhere actually in the 90s, but that is,
in its rapidity,
the area of Bergamo helped me a lot to definitely have an extreme taste because it's an extreme countryside somehow. And also very old school, a little bit old fashioned. So it's interesting because the city is always balanced between very hot disco and club and a super classical music. So you have nothing in the middle. I mean, it's a little bit a rock city, not so much. I mean, there is Verdena, that is one of my favorite rockers come from the city, but it's somehow very DJing things because you still have one of the biggest club in Italy open, Bolgia. Not my type of disco, but it's still very big. Bolgia in Bergamo. And yes, using in the past was very, very famous area to go to dance. And so maybe this balance between classical and hard bring me out my Gabber Eleganza, you know, something like that.
Yeah,
Probably, definitely is part of my music taste.
And I'm going to ask you in a second about the name Gabber Eleganza. In the meantime, I sent you via Instagram, I sent you the link to the Facebook video.
Yeah, I'm sharing now.
Perfect. And I will, for people who don't know, I'll give a bit of context. Like Bergamo, Brescia are two cities, as Alberto said, like of north of Italy, which is super famous and a stronghold of Italian hardcore. So for people, I used to listen to the music when I was young as well. And I'm from Rome, from the center of Italy, and people
Rome was also epicenter for hard music.
Yes.
I mean, all the Lorry D and the
DJ Bike,
sound of Rome. Like, you know, when you grow up, you are a kid, 15 years old in the 91, and the rave arrived just in Rome. It's the first city that started to doing business, but also in an illegal way in Rome. And you grow up, you're 15, and your DJ is already play acoustic window +8 and a fucking extreme music. It's impossible that it's not blood in you somehow. And there is Virus with Freddie K in Rome. And later, all the hardcore kids, DJ Walter One from Mokum, Bike, and also President now is like a huge
hardcore sensation. Yeah,
Alex Coma, that I mean is a quite legendary hardcore DJ in Rome. Yeah. There was a Barcone, DJ Czech from Termoli, and I mean, it was a very big scene in Rome.
Well, it was a huge scene, and I mean, I think I was going to those parties in 2007, 2006, 2008, around that time. So it was quite late in the hardcore wave in Italy. So it was like probably 10 years apart from the start of the scene.
I went to a rave in Rome in 2005. I never really liked Rome because the crowd was very tough. I mean, it was quite tough. So wasn't a moment for hardcore in Italy, but all over the world. It's a very black moment, I will see, with all this cooptation with the political things by the far right, and also extreme type of people. And I was start to be bored by them and try to discover different kind of hard music and also electronic music. Yeah. So it wasn't one of my last party in Italy was in Rome. New Year's Eve or something like New Year's Eve 2004 or 2005.
Yeah, it was
2020. I was 20.
Well, okay, and that was a hardcore party. It was like a rave with also some hardcore performances or DJs or acts. Because I remember, like in Rome, like a lot of rave parties were happening, and hardcore was usually the smallest sound system. There were like maybe 3 sound systems. The biggest one was like hard techno with K. And then you would have like the main one, which was Frenchcore, or like, which is kind of in between hardcore and techno.
It's for me, hardcore could be everything. Could be the Dutch hardcore that is related to the Gabber subculture, but could be the hardcore from UK, a little bit more breakbeat. Could be the hardcore from France, relate to free techno party. Could be, there are different type of, hardcore is just a genre, but the spectrum of the music behind is incredibly big.
Yes.
So hard techno, how you can call it, for me, is a hardcore in general. Of course, there are different type and technique, blah, 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 but it's still, but yes, Rome was very, very big. Huge for free festival. The legendary FinTech. There was the huge squat that for 3 years in between 99
continuous,
was a 2 years continuous party. Was, it's interesting. Actually, there is a book is come out. They talk about all the free space and squat in Rome. I miss now the title, but I can maybe write later after the video in the comments. Is edited by a book publishing in Rome, and it's actually 600-page, very big book, only about the stories about the free space. Not only, of course, about techno, but in general, like a squats, a scene, and free party, and all the protagonists and the people behind the scene. Like Anna Bolena, for example, and Techno Mobile Squad, Forte Prenestino, and etc.
Yeah, Rome was amazing. Like I think I've been lucky enough to see the last part of the rave culture in Rome. Like I remember it with extreme pleasure. It makes me have goosebumps, even like hearing about these things again.
2008 was like the moment of the Truce clan that explode, and they flirting with techno scene. Luciano, Lamanna, that doing party in that moment with Frenchcore. I remember to search some flyers. It was quite an exciting moment.
It was a very exciting moment. I think there was a boom. I think it must have been like around 2008, where there were at some point something like 3 parties the same night in Rome, which for Rome was like incredible. All 3 parties in different sides of the city, and these parties would run for like 2 days straight. That was incredible. But I remember, like, there was always a bit of a stigma toward the hardcore community, like the way, at least I perceived it in the scene I was part of. Like, there was, let's say, techno, hard techno, and then hardcore was like usually the gabbers were very much associated with Nazi somehow.
Yeah. There was in Rome. Not everywhere. It's these topics always come out in the interview, and I think that Rome actually is a is a as I say is un esempio a sé, is like is completely separated things.
Yeah.
Because when you come from Rome, with the city with that historically legacy from the early century, from the early 90s.
Yes.
And you grow up in the suburbs. That the city of Rome is the only one city in Italy with huge suburbs. It's bigger than the city. So it's like two cities in one. There is interesting book by Valerio Mattioli called The Remoria. Is talking about what's happening in the suburbs from the 17th, and he talks very clearly. It's a non-fiction, but a little bit of fiction too in this book. It's interesting how he explained how this suburb subculture start from the movement of the 70s, like antagonist and anarchist, and a little bit evolve into proto-neofascism.
Yes.
Because it's working class poor people done cultural needed that evolve, and this flirting with, of course, extreme type of music. So with the hardcore was very, I mean, now it's completely gone. It's not anymore like that.
Yeah.
But in the past was a very huge stigma. I mean, it's 2020 and I'm still talking about. So I mean, I'm working on this project to tell the people that there are also another side and more artistic side of hardcore that is not just this kind of stigma. And also was a problem for me because also people thought that I was playing fascist music.
Yeah, for some reason,
so
exactly.
But that's happened everywhere, and it's incredible. But I mean, makes sense to explain every time, and I like it. I mean, this is my also purpose. So I like to explain that it's not always like that. It was a niche, but that niche is a classic black sheep that ruined everything.
Yeah, it can become a prejudice. Yeah.
The only regrets that I will say for the hardcore scene that they never fight really against that in Italy, because, for example, in Berlin, all the hardcore scene is strictly related to squat and alternative side, and they always fight against this. So they still fight events like Fuck Parade, Gabba Nation, Gabba from Berlin. This is type of group they always fight with a political approach to try to do, of course, to clean up. But I mean, it's not everywhere like this.
No, of course, absolutely. And I just came across some time ago, there's a place in Berlin called The Bunker. I don't know if you know this place.
Of course.
And I didn't know.
I was trying to buy a t-shirt last week, actually. Finally, I found it, but I lost it. It was too expensive on eBay auction.
Yeah, wow.
Now is a museum now. Is a private gallery. They are Boros collection. They are now doing at the Berghain.
Yeah. So the Boros collection was a couple of like husband and wife art collectors. They bought this house, which used to be a bunker, and who had a name like I've learned this like a month ago, and this bunker was the hardest club in the world. It was known as the hardest club in the world.
The story behind this club is interesting because they started as a DDR, and they call it banana bunker because they used to during the Soviet regime, and so during the war, they used to put fruits and exotic fruits for the big heads of a Soviet party, and to keep it secret, that the people can know that there is a bananas, and they call it bananas bunker. So it was quite funny. And after in the 80s start to be bondage or a BDSM place. And in the meantime, in the early 90s, with techno arrived in Berlin, they start to do hard techno and hardcore in the early 90s with DJ Tanit, Cat X, Soul Dog, and they become a little bit more into hardcore. So there was, in the meantime, extreme sex party and hardcore party. So and actually, I think the founder are the same founder of Ostgontun. So I think there is very connected with the Berghain founder.
Yeah.
The party promoter. I'm not sure, but yes, I think yes.
I heard this is a rumor, so don't quote me on that. Like someone said that the guys who eventually started Berghain were people who were working, were promoters at the bunker. So that was
that's the story that I heard too, and it is on this book, The Skole der Klang der Familie, is talking about the story of Berlin techno. They've written there too, so it's I mean, it's probably true. I wasn't here in the 90s one because I was in the elementary school, but yes, probably true.
It could be. And for people who are in Berlin or will ever want to go, it's a beautiful place. I would highly recommend it for the story behind it. Also, it's a beautiful place now. Art gallery, amazing. But let's talk about Gabber Eleganza. So
yes, sorry, I'm talking too much. I know, Italian way, but I'm very talker.
Talkative, I like that. So I think we could easily spend like hours talking about this stuff, especially. And so Gabber Eleganza, you started as a blog, basically. You were collecting information, pictures about the underground rave culture. So that was 2011, roughly?
Yeah, I opened the blog and the Tumblr page in 2011. And actually, I opened in a very naive, light way. It wasn't like an artistic purpose. It was more very, I mean, I have an archive. I am a fan. I used to be a gabber in the early 2000s. And so I started digging online to check in, because also if in that moment I was listening maybe different type of music, I was attending different type of party, I always keep an eye on the hardcore scene. I always keep an eye on eBay and what's happening on Discogs. I mean, it's still my biggest passion. So it's never left me. So I'm starting to understand that what I found online on Google, especially picture, was extremely dumb. So see all this picture of stereotype of gabber face, and relation with politics, relation with gang, relation with drugs, the classic, topic that was tried to, it was very sad, because for me was completely a different type of feeling. I mean, I know, as I said before, there is this type of people, but the feeling for me was to be a part of the family, and everybody that was part in the hardcore scene can tell you the same things. So actually very inclusive. So I don't know what, so I'm starting, and I was 25. So I started to say, okay, I have a lot of this old art disc from early 2000 with a lot of picture that from the forum, people attending party and putting the picture party report, picture report, and saving everything because maybe they were older than me. So these are people that I love to hang out, this kind of admiration. And so I save it, and maybe my compulsive, I don't know, probably I'm sick. I'm compulsive collector of photo, digital, also low quality. I don't care, like physically. So I've started collecting. I start to understand, okay, there is interesting, maybe we are in the right moment to tell another story. Yeah. So keeping the archive in a little bit more postmodern attitude. So I would like to tell my story. So remix it a little bit, keep it a little bit more romantic and sentimental. And how can do it without talk about the music because it's too nerdy and too obviously. I would like to talk about the visual side. And I'm starting talking about Gabber and hardcore scene, a little bit adding other rave subculture and other rave phenomenon, mixing with picture and photos. So, and I'm starting to realize that could be interesting to tell a story and with a purpose to change the mentality of the people, especially outside the hardcore world. That was my crowd on the blog. I'm starting to talking about, to the hardcore people, but after I realized that was more popular outside hardcore world. So I started to say, okay, there is more attention. I should be more serious on that. I should be talk a little bit more deeply and give it away the ironic, naive side of how we started the blog and keep it a little bit more like a curating a space So I started to curate in the blog, like could be create a gallery or space or whatever, and adding more deeply material and other stuff that is not strictly related to rave, but maybe photographer that talk, they shoot a rave, or maybe artists that use a rave to do something. Also fashion designer, I mean, is still creative filmmakers, mixing everything with the hardcore aesthetic and the rave aesthetic that is very childish, is very naive. So this can create this kind of mixture and syncretic elements that is a Gabber Eleganza. It's a sort of paradox. The names come from that. Is Gabber is not elegant, so is a funny paradox between two words that could be definitely not fit each other, but I tried to fit in somehow.
Yeah, it's almost like two extremes that are like combined together. Like, very interesting. And so, and do you feel right now? So now it's basically almost 10 years later. So 9 years later, let's say. Do you feel you managed to shift perception of the public a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, with blog, I definitely did the purpose and the mission. So that's why I also stopped to upload a lot of stuff on the blog.
Yeah.
Because I think that now, especially in the last 2-3 years, with the revival and the interest and the trend behind hardcore, about the hardcore in the outside the hardcore scene, in the electronic festival, in electronic music, in techno scene, but not just in the music, like in everywhere. And the interesting by brands, interesting by art, you know, also the filmmaker. So of course, the narrative is changed definitely. And I'm not the only one to do that. I mean, in the meantime, other people help to change it. And so I think that now is definitely changed the perspective about that. Perception about
perception. Yeah.
And so that's why I'm starting doing more music. So maybe with the music, that could be a little bit more challenging to do something more different, because with the visual side, it's a little bit easy somehow. I mean, but it's easy because it's just a picture and you can understand or not. Music is a little bit more personal. So it's a long process. And so that's why I'm starting to go offline and back on the street.
And that's super interesting. And I've read that in 2016, so a few years later, you also started with your performances, the Hakke Show. You started performing as Gabber Eleganza outside of that. Well, was there anything unexpected that came from, let's say, the live performance rather than just blogging, that maybe made you feel great about the new thing?
In the meantime, I was already doing DJ with the other moniker. I changed a lot of names, and it was a moment that for me I was playing a rough techno and rough house, because I mean my taste come from the early 90s, so the golden age of this kind of analog rough stuff. And I was playing with the other monikers a little bit slower, 130 BPM. And I used to play also hardcore tracks in the ends, but never like the big slot, just to have fun at the end. And people are going crazy, but just really 2 tracks at the end.
Yeah.
So I was already doing DJ. So for me, wasn't something different. It was just an organic step. After 5 years, I think was the time to change the project and evolve in something a little bit more challenging, as I said, with the music.
Yeah.
I was just waiting the right occasion, because to do in the hardcore scene wasn't the purpose, because if you tell the hardcore story at the people they already know, you're not gonna change mine. You should challenge more outside. It's a little bit more harder. So I like this kind of hard and unique type. So I start to be, okay, let's go outside and try in the hard way possible. And I had a chance to play in a beautiful space in Milan in the summer 2016 in Hangar Bicocca. Is actually an art exhibition space. during Karsten Höller events. Is a German artist. Was a sort of sound clash between two stages. One stage was Africa with this kind of big Afrobeat band, like 12 people dancing, was crazy. And our stage, and I was alone. So I say, okay, I play hardcore, it's impossible to win. Also, it was a funny thing, but I was challenging. So okay, let's do like proper sound clash. So I asked to my friends to come and dance. So that was not a strategic performance, was a very organic. So, okay. Lorenzo Senni was the curator of the European stage. Before me, there was Danny Harley from PC Music, and with his Eurodance type of music, hyper pop type of music, and me after has the first Gabber Eleganza DJ set. And no, there is no challenge here. We're gonna lost against the big African musician on the stage, sweating. I mean, it's impossible to win. So I said, okay, let's try. So I bring 5 old kids and I say, guys, you still have your tracks in the wardrobe? Yes, come. So, and we spent was a hot night in July, and I still have the picture. And so they start to dance not on stage, but in front of me, as a part of the group, and everybody, including old fancy woman wearing, I don't know, Hermes, they starting to dance hardcore.
Wow.
And it was definitely quite a really sound clash into the stage. So not just between two stages, so it was also the people in the crowd was sound clashing. So I say, wow, that is something changing in the people. Is not anymore a stigma, this music. So something, maybe the time, the nostalgia, everything is reevaluated.
Yes.
In a bad way. I know revaluation is not always a good way, because you're gonna also lost the naive and the rough side, but I keep the vibe, and so I started to understand and dig in more. I started to understand that I could maybe tell a story with the Hakke Show and bring the energy of hardcore people.
That's
so
amazing,
that was the purpose. And in the meantime, of course, I started to do DJ set, a little bit more hybrid, not just hardcore, to keep more different taste of music. Still very rough and hardcore attitude, but not necessarily hardcore punchy music.
Yeah, the music, yeah.
So now I'm still doing this. So Hakke Show, of course, it's already 3 years. Maybe the energy is lost. I think that the Hakke Show already did what they should do. I did it. I say in the right way. Sometimes my English is not the best.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Maybe, I mean, now after 3 years, Hakke Show, it's enough. I think that maybe I can do once in the year or twice, just to bring all the crew together.
It made its time.
It's not necessary now.
Got it.
So everything that I'm doing is with a purpose, with a specific concept. So that's made his time.
Yeah, I really enjoy listening to this, because it's like what you say about, you take hardcore, you put it in a completely different context, which is Hangar Brigocca, like a exhibition that has probably never seen hardcore before that night. And you see that naturally people they love it, some people at least, they love it, they enjoy it. And so all the stigma, all the prejudice, all the preconceptions are kind of thrown away, and people form their own opinion.
It's gone. Yeah. It's gone. Of course, I receive critical sometimes about the Hakke Show. Of course, it's not like everybody is gonna love it. So when you flirting with hardcore stuff, of course, is not a gray shape. Is a black or is a white, perspection. So it's not easy, but I mean, it's for me is still the things that I love to do. So I don't really care. But that was the purpose of a Hakke Show.
Yeah, amazing. And one related question that I had was, so you took the Hakke Show in a range of festivals and clubs. You went from Berghain, which is still quite intense as environment, but it's not really hardcore. But you also played at Terraforma, which is in a way totally the opposite. It's in the nature, a beautiful festival in Milan.
I didn't play in Terraforma. Terraforma organized an event with me as a special guest in Milan during the design week, but inside a location, not in. But I play in a festival similar to Terraforma, like Attitude, so architecture, sustainable, very arty. It's called the Horst in Belgium, in Brussels.
The Horst, okay.
Horst, maybe Horst, and that is definitely one of the top Hakke Show performers ever. Is definitely crazy.
That was quite recent. Like, was it?
That was last year, and I recently uploaded the live recordings on YouTube and with footage, slow motion footage on my YouTube channel. It's quite intense. I really enjoy it.
Very amazing. Yes. Were you ever surprised that these very different range of festivals booked the Hakke Show? Did you expect that?
I think that some festival book because some maybe promoter come from a rave heritage and they want to have a sort of link with them. Yeah. Because of course festival evolve in 25 years in different type and spectra. And sometimes it's just a very open-minded, crazy promoter that want to do something more arty. So it's very different. So you have like arty type of promoter that want to try to do a strange performance, has a statement. It's happened, for example, in Innsbruck, in a theater of Innsbruck, they booked me for Heart of Noise. And they used me as the last slot, and the promoter and the artistic director told me, Alberto, we book you as a political statement to say fuck off to the council, because I don't know in English, but in the council you have different heads, and the heads that follow the hearts, like assessore, I don't know in English, how does it say?
Probably like I would say like the person who's in charge of the culture.
The arts, the culture, exactly. The culture in the city. They want to give the theater just for classical music, very old-fashioned. And so the usually Heart of Noise is a very high type of listening music and high, like type of atonal type of music. So very ambient, dark, drone, experimental. So they use me as and this kind of things that make me so excited about, that's okay, let's punch in the face the council somehow. So you have this kind of things, and of course you have also more ravey people that book you, and you have in the middle, big festival, sometimes also little, I play also in the hardcore party, so it's not like only outside of this hardcore scene people, so I play also in a proper rave and hardcore. So I like this kind of huge spectrum of people that that book me for this.
Yeah, and you recently, if I'm not mistaken, you did a remix for Mark Pain, right?
Yes, with Giuseppe Deliria, and we did a remix of "Don't Touch the Stereo." That was a huge honor to remix the tracks.
Wow.
And it's still my top 5 hardcore track ever. It's not like a proper hardcore track, but it's a rave on them. And so I had the chance to spend the night with him in Hamburg when I played at the Golden Pudel. And he's a very funny guy. He's definitely more young than me, actually. And as an attitude, he's still hustling, you know. And it's I mean, I'm still quite, excited to think about. And yes, I hope to. We're still in touch. We're chatting sometime. We're talking, and I would love to do a book about him soon. Maybe, I mean, it's a project, but I would like to do something about the Frankfurt scene, and he's him as a big the main characters.
The main example, it's super interesting, and it makes me think of something you wrote in a couple of your I think t-shirts, but also on Instagram, like hardcore will never die, but you will.
Yeah, exactly. That is a Mogwai rock band album, and I just quoted because I said. It's I love that quote that you mean it's something that's it's funny but it's true, you know, it's definitely true. I like it because he's honest.
Yeah, he is exactly. It's very true. And in terms of like your, let me think. I have a few more questions, and then I think we can open the Q&A to the public. One, actually, let me ask you this question. For an artist that is thinking to do something that seems not to make sense or seems not to be accepted, what could be a suggestion for them to just feel the confidence and say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyways"?
Yeah, you should just not do with the business approach or business purpose. You just should do just for your passion. This is the most important. I mean, I know this is obviously what I'm saying, but that's true. I mean, there is no secret weapons to do something that you love. It's just your love that push your passion. And I said once, someone told me, when you're gonna stop to do Gabber Eleganza? And I say, when I gonna lose my passion.
Yeah.
So that is, I understand the moment that is not, I have nothing to say to anymore. So I don't want to use a project just because people like it. If I am the first that I can't like it. So if someone wanna fight against everybody, or I think that is not the right metaphor to fight against everybody. Just don't care about everybody and just do what you want. So it's very easily, it's hard, but I never opened the blog with the purpose to tour, with the purpose to play in a Berghain or whatever. It's something that's happened later and I'm super grateful about, but also wasn't happen. I was happy anyway, because for me is a still part of me. So this is things that happen during the journey, but is not the goal. Is for me, everything I'm doing is, I think, is a sort of organic step over. So it's not a strategic, okay, this is my goal, now I will go arrive there. Of course, you create challenging for you. You create a sort of goal to give you something to
push forward,
of course, but that is the purpose. I know is obviously, but I mean, just trust your dream. I mean, trust what you like it. Don't do it because you think that is a trend. Definitely not follow the trend. That is definitely, it's not a long-term. I mean, for me, is always a long-term thinking.
Yeah.
And if you are doing something that other people doing, I mean, now, for example, in the Texas scene, a lot of DJ are playing hardcore. And everybody, for me, expected that I'm playing hardcore. So I'm playing different spectrum of music because it's too obviously. So I'm trying to challenging. And I'm also, on the business level is not, I mean, for someone it's not good because it's more difficult to push your message. But I definitely don't care. So that is my mainly suggestion.
Oh, makes sense. And, it's interesting because I think the more I do these interviews and I speak with a lot of people that have done something interesting in whatever sense, the more the answer to this question seems to be do something you like. And that's something that people like, that these people like is something that they would do anyways, even if they were not getting anywhere with that. And I think, myself included, a lot of people, when you look at success, let's say achievement of people from the outside, you try to understand what did they do, like how did they get there, and I think it's very easy for people to think that there was a strategy behind, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a music beats. So if you work with a independent big labels or whatever, of course, strategy help you to do a schedule because there is investment of money and everything and blah, blah, blah. So I think somehow makes sense. For me, that's I'm working alone. I'm come from a do-yourself. I'm doing my book by myself. I cut the paper. I mean, I still have a sheet printed in black and white, even in color, to do the test. So, and the T-shirt at the beginning, was printing with my friends. I think these things is nobody can pay to have it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a heritage that will be part of you forever somehow. And if you come from nothing, I'm not come from nothing, but you say that if you are especially Italian artists, that there is no network for Italian artists, especially in the underground, there is no help, there is no this sense of community, you feel it always alone against everything. So if you wanna going out, you should doing and push you 10 times more than, I don't know, someone that live in London that's, you know, you're going to drink a coffee and you are a talking guy like me and you find someone, okay, send me a demo. I'm working for X big label. And I mean, it's a possibility, not like happen every day, but it's more easy, of course, in the network if you know people. And so I think that it's just this type of attitude. And sometimes when things is organically, let me use these words because I like it, in like vegetables. And it's definitely a slow process, but it's a more long term. And maybe you have nothing in the immediately, but in the long term, you start to realize that you're taking care in more different way. And you also can do a business, you can do a success. Doesn't necessarily you should be fucking David Guetta. I mean, I don't care. This is not definitely my purpose. And I think that in electronic music it's so easy to do a lot of money if you want, that it's so easy lost the street. But I respect David Guetta somehow because he just do what he want, I guess. I don't know, yeah. But I guess. So I don't really care because that is not my crowd, that is not my type of, and I mean, if he's a good guy, good for him. I mean, it's definitely not my cup of tea and not my business. So I think that everything is a strategic, is related to something that could be a product. So if you use a music as a product, always like that, and talk, okay, let's do album, like a Spotify CEO that let's say that you should do more music and stop to bother you about, I don't know, the pay. And of course that is fucking evil.
Yeah.
But he's a business guy. I mean, he's not, I wasn't shocked to hear him tell this story. I mean, he's not the first one and he's not the last one to tell this, to say these things. And if you talk about the music as a product, you're talking about something that you use and put away. So that is not my, as I say, I try to conceptualize everything, like a lot of other artists outside. And it's definitely more hard because people should know you and should maybe have some tools to understand what you're doing. They need time, but it makes me happy. So that's just this.
And it's enough. It's important. Thank you. And I wanted to ask another question, and then I think we can move to the Q&A from people. And actually, guys, if you're listening to this, drop your questions in the comments, and we're gonna select some of them and ask them to Alberto. Alberto, what I wanted to ask is your track "Never Sleep," which is on one of your first releases on Presto, the label by Lorenzo Senni. That ended up as being the soundtrack of a ballad. Is that correct, right?
Yeah. So "Never Sleep" started has a words like a hashtag that I start to use, because as you can see, I'm a very talking, and during the day I try to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe is a little bit toxic, changing the multitasking, blah blah blah. But of course, I'm focused on my project. But sometimes, okay, this is the date, I don't know, to do production music. So I start in research. I start to deeply, and lost the focus, and jump up on the other side. I like a lot of people. And so it's a sort of put me like extra ephedrine, adrenaline. So it's a sort of never sleep mottos come from that. And so I call it a track, Never Sleep, on the first release that I had on Lorenzo. And I start to use it as a sort of logo merchandise, and it became my label. So that tracks, now is a soundtrack of a trailer of the theater of Marseille, the ballet, National Ballet of Marseille.
Amazing.
Because I'm collaborating.
Yeah.
I do collaboration with La Horde. La Horde is the curator of the ballet, and they did a choreographer, for example, for a fashion show. I did the music. Now we are working on other things. We are always in touch, and they asked me if they can use the track to do this trailer to present the new season, because the theater in Marseille was closed. In the meantime, there was reopened for after, of course, the new lockdown. Sorry, before the new lockdown. They use, and I say, yeah. I mean, when I saw the video, I say, wow, that's
amazing.
Go ahead. It's beautiful.
Of course, so, it's beautiful.
It's a perfectly mix of my vibes, to bring exactly a vibes outside the box. So always think about the box.
I totally agree. I would define it as hardcore experimental. Like there is an element of like the kick and the distortion is quite intense.
Yeah, that track is like is built up on 2/4 time. It's like a sort of the BPM is 116, and you can listen is sound that is 18 BPM, like half time. But there is few parts that is 4/4, so it's a sort of lento violento type of music, like a slow style, Gigi D'Agostino lento violento approach. Yeah. And but with offbeat, so it's a little bit like they keep you uplifting, and I still like the tracks. I still love to play it.
It's super interesting, and it's even very cool that actually that track became the name of your label. And it's something that like stays close.
I'm just, I mean, as you can see, it's not a really big strategy. I'm just, that's a cool name, like use it for the label. That's perfect, a very naive somehow. So I'm just, okay, let's use it. I mean, it's a cool name. People love it, and I love it. So I just use it.
It works. And last question that I have is, so Mino, Luchena, and Lorenzo Senni are two names that are recurring in your story, in your background. So Lorenzo obviously is the person who runs Presto, the label you released, Never Sleep On. And Mino is, I guess, is a friend of yours who was also DJ, tattoo artist. What's the background of knowing them and meeting Lorenzo and Mino, and how are you supporting each other now?
And I met Lorenzo, I think, I don't remember actually, but I mean, in Milan, around 2011, by common friends. I used to hang out at the Undebis night, the night of Inverno Muto and still is Simone Trabucchi that made an album on Pen, on Bill Kuliga's label. And he used to run these underground noise events. And they always put the Destroyer, that is a terror DJ, at the end. So I started to hang out, like, yeah, what's crazy, that's... And I met Lorenzo, so we start to chatting, and we become friends. We play in a couple of parties together, and so he started to ask me about the hardcore, and he told me that he was also he also used to come to see hardcore party, but he come from a punk hardcore scene, so it was quite interesting in him, and so we become friends, and we're still friends. And I mean, I'm so proud of him with all his works on Warp. And of course, unluckily for him, he published the album exactly in the middle of the lockdown in April. But I'm surely that it will be come back next year bigger than ever.
Of course, yeah.
I met Mino in 2007, 2008, because he was a boyfriend of friends of me in Bergamo, and we become immediately friends, very attract each other. We were very different somehow. He was a rockabilly guy.
Yeah.
I was a raver, but at that moment I was also into the British subculture, most Northern Soul, rocksteady and reggae. I'm also a big fan of Jamaican music. And so we was flirting each other, talking about music, talking about style and subculture and arts and creative. Is definitely a sort of a twin soul. This is one of my best friends. So We spend a lot of time, and he always be my first fan ever. Also with my first project until now. So for me was important to involve him in the Hakke Show as a sort of disturber. So there is this guy that tried to disturb people, jump, doing mosh pit. Mino is not a gabber, but he's definitely a sort of hoster, but also disturber, a bridge between the group and the crowd.
Very interesting.
I tried to involve him as much as possible. We did a jacket collection 2 years ago. Now we are talking to do something others because I think he's one of the best visual artists in Milan. But he's very tattoo minded. Said he don't care. I'm not a tattoo artist. I'm a tattoo. You know, he don't wanna this kind of. Is a very classic on his work, and I respect him for this.
Yeah.
And he's a very huge music connoisseur, but also very funny. So he's not taking seriously too much, but his knowledge about style, music, is unbelievable. So it's definitely a good guy to spend night out.
Yeah, I had a set of from Mino, and I didn't know him before. At Terraforma in 2018 was summer, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Like
he played at Terraforma, right?
Yeah, he played exactly. I heard this set, and I didn't know about him. And Terraforma, for people who don't know, it's like in the middle of this kind of forest. It's all like eco-friendly, very interesting, experimental. I would define it as an experimental music festival. And Mino was playing maybe in the morning or like early afternoon. So it was kind of one of these moments where everybody's like relaxing. And he did an entire set of like 70s to 80s music.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just vinyls. And then I think he closed with that track by maybe The Destroyer, Concetta.
Yeah, Concetta. I know. I saw that video. I mean, it's yes, Concetta is a cheesy Italian industrial hardcore track from the '95. The Destroyer was 15 at the because yes, it was this kind of dissing against the Corona. This is the rhythm of the night.
Yes,
dissing against that track.
I know, it's an incredible track, yeah.
Now, Mino is a huge music connoisseur, but when he plays, he's not keep it too much serious. He wanted that the people have fun and dancing, and he don't care. He's not, of course, like a skilled DJ. He don't care. He's just a selector. And actually say, I'm not a DJ, I'm a selector, and he know what his position. So he's a very respect my job. So but I respect that he's not lying, so not like other people that pretending to be a DJ. Anyway, I don't care. I don't want to open this topic, but he's a very respecting guy.
I love the experience, and actually, he just replied the yes on Facebook. Yes, The Destroyer. I love you too. Wow, yeah, that was an experience. Not big up for Mino. And Alberto, we have a couple of questions from the audience. One is, through your experience, this is a bit of a peculiar question. Do you think Eastern European scenes are today more open to hardcore than Occidental countries somehow? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I discovered this social media from Russian. It's called VK or V, I don't remember. And they have huge amount of page about hardcore in general. And also we can call it progressive or post-modern hardcore, like has mine type of style, and is a lot with a huge following. There's a lot of, the biggest listening base is come from Russia on SoundCloud in Germany. So when I supposed to play in Oxima in Kiev, someone write a huge wall with Gabber at Xema with the date and actually lockdown command. I mean, what?
Wow.
Someone was spreading the words on the Kiev wall like with a spray and say, oh, on this, and with other artists was involved in the lineup. So it was quite shocking and excited to play there. And definitely, I think Russia have this kind of good hard music, especially bounce type of music from, hard bass and all these new type of donk and it's also hard house was popular in the early 2000, and I think that is definitely more prolific. The only problem, I think, that the, let's call it, West Europe, it doesn't really looking into the music there. They are more looking, okay, there's a cool crowd, cool kids, more like a style type of Soviet aesthetic, and maybe not going deeply so much. But the scene, and it's incredible. I love, for example, a lot of the beat making scene from Russia, a lot, and there is an extremely pirate tape cassette from 90s scene. They bootlegging everything and this kind of things. I love it. So that is a collector items. You know, it's, you can find the tape from Russia for more than the original one. That's, I love. I mean, how can you can't love it? My daughter is passing.
Hello.
All good?
Nice.
Tutto bene, Olimpia? Okay, no, all good.
Perfect. If you need 2 seconds.
No, just because we are sharing. No, she's just, no, don't worry.
Very nice. And then another question that came: one of the best clubs, festivals you remember playing in? What could be one of the best clubs you played in or festivals?
I mean, I like to separate maybe with the Hakke Show. That I play mostly in the festival, more than just DJ, like a solo. I think that I love mostly of the festival because there are actually not like so many. I mean, with the Hakke Show, because I should bring a lot of dancer, so it's not easy to arrange everything with a lot of people. But I think that's mostly of the festival. But of course, Horst was definitely the last Hakke Show that we did in Brussels was definitely a peak moment because it was on Sunday evening around 11, so not late, full of energy. It was quite cold outside. So there is video of Mino and Bruno that breathing with the condensation. And the stage, I was playing exactly in front of the stage. So the console was exactly on the opposite, but the floor was built like a moon crater. So people on the top, I can't see my dancer, so I don't know what we're doing. And the type of pressure of the people on me and the type of pressure on the stage was so intense, and people still write me after 1 year and a half about that gig. I think also Innsbruck was good because about the political things against the council. Milano was good because was thousands of people, was a free entrance, and for the first time Milan I played there was crazy, the Hakke Show.
That's Anger.
No, Anger Bicocca was cool, but a little bit, it was the first one. That is at Base for Terraforma.
Yes.
And I love to play also, I love play everywhere. In Ireland, for the Pussy is a queer collective, and we play, we all the drag people mixing with old gabbers. You know, it's quite a strange sound clashing.
Amazing.
And as a DJ, I think, of course, play in the Berghain is still quite an emotion somehow. I played there different time, and I did also the Hakke Show, and is still like an emotion because you have this kind of hype and the profile of the club. But I love also playing other less hype club. I play in Institute in Leipzig. It's Leipzig. It's Golden Poodle in Hamburg. It's like to play in a bar, and was amazing. It's one of the best clubs that I play. It's 100 people. It's like to play in a pub. It's very close. I don't want to be look like leakless, but I love to play everywhere because I feel so grateful that I'm 35. To bless. To travel. That I try to enjoy every party. Also, the one that maybe, of course, is not the packet one, or the vibe is less. Because every crowd is different, nation by nation. You have a crowd in Germany that's you can't really understand if they are happy or not, because maybe they're not. And in Italy, they break your the T-shirt, they punch each other, they break the console. I mean, I would say everywhere. At the Rye Wax, the first Hakke Show, wow, was definitely something Mino is gonna remember definitely.
Yeah, Rye Wax. And Maximilian is asking, time for Poland?
Played in Poland. I played at Vixapol. I mean, of course, Vixapol. In 3 years ago in Warsaw, I played a couple of times in Poznan at the Factory Lab. But of course, I would like to come there. Definitely. I mean, Poland is definitely a huge scene and beautiful club. I mean, so I would like to come back there.
Yes, and question from Andrea is any future collaboration between Gabber Eleganza and Grey for Days?
Yes, we supposed to do a performance at Fold in London for an Eversley party last November, but there was a police ride 2 weeks before, and they taking all the LED wall from the club. So Grey for Days is a visual artist, and we're supposed to do, of course, I'm DJing, and he was doing a visual set. And he was bespoke just for that party.
Wow.
And so when we realized that was impossible with other tech, I would love to come back. I mean, maybe one day we're back in Fold and we will do, if we will back in clubs, maybe in Fold we will do, I don't know. I don't think will be not possible until next summer. I don't think we're going back.
It's pretty hard to think about it, but it's true.
I mean, now the lockdown is going to be until the light, like down until Christmas. So probably later will be until March. I don't know. I think that's.
Yes.
I'm not a connoisseur of these things that I can explain my of course my opinion that I would like to come back, and I'm lucky, feel so much blessed and lucky to live in Berlin. That's the city is very relaxed on this side, and the last party was until November 1st. So.
Yeah, it's okay. We need to keep going. There's no other choice. And going toward the wrap up, there is another question from Andrea again, which says, "I love your EP made with HD mirror," and he's asking any insights on how you started to produce the tracks. And he mentions each track has its own story. So did you plan them beforehand, or they just happened?
No. That EP started because Life from Earth guys asked me to do a EP, and I'm a very, very slow producer. So I'm not feeling like 100% producer. So for me, the production, it's a very long process. And so I will say, okay, I will like to do with Gerard, HD Mirror, that I will always love to do something with him. And I know he's a very prolific. That guy is like a master of synth. Everything is a 100% sound designer, producer guy. So I say, okay, that is probably a good chance to do something with him. And I would love to do something proper rave. So people that just want to play in the club. Unfortunately, lockdown comes. Some people maybe don't play in the club, but we have sometimes I saw DJ play it. And yes, we started actually to draft some ideas. And yes, we started actually think about the type of tracks. So we love to do one tracks is a proper, not proper, but faster, that is move your car. And one is, we started with other tracks, but we actually unreleased it. So was just a rough draft that's evolved in the track that we listen. And we move in something that's, okay, let's do something trancey, that is can remember, and we want something raw and proper hardcore, a little bit slow, that is a scene it. And after to make this, we realized that okay, now it's time to do something abstract, because both of us like this idea to not do just functional club music.
Yeah.
But we push it always by some concept or some art attitude. So that's why we put Mark Leckey quotes into the movie card that actually come from an art movie. And Can't Remember, for example, the melody is built up from the voice of the sample. And so it's always tricky elements to do something different, but sound functional somehow. So you have also a story behind. And when we come out with Frozen Dopamina, it's a classic slow tempo climax, anti-climax tracks, as I guess to call it the Frozen Dopamina, but because it's exactly the attitude of the tracks. And you can be a long drop that explodes in something that is not violent. And I say, oh, that is the single. This not unaccepted, the single that the people think. So we try to challenge each other. And so that is a little bit briefly the story behind the P. And Gerard is also a visual artist. So at the beginning was another idea to do the video of Frozen Dopamina with a Russian visual artist. But he actually tested the positive to COVID in April. So we decided, and the idea was to mapping 3D internal, and I don't want to explain, it was a little bit more with complex mapping things. So he was sick. So we decided to move and ask together, okay, let's do the video. You are good. I like what you do. So, and he come out with crazy video, epileptic video. And yes, I mean, it's a joint force of two creative people that's in some points we sharing a lot of common things, and of course other we have different opinion, but I think is a good friendship EP is coming out.
Yeah, very, very cool, very interesting. And last question from the public, from Luis. A lot of people tend to love Gabber music today, but they're not so much in touch with Gabber culture. Do you see that there is a split these days?
Yes, definitely. The biggest misunderstanding is the people, if I want to be like the hardcore teacher, they misunderstand that Gabber is not a type of music, but is a subculture, is a style. That's people use it to describe a type of music later. So in UK, to explain what is the Dutch hardcore, they call it Gabba with a for example. Yeah. And now for explain what is a hardcore, they say, okay, Gabba music, because it's become a music genre. That's personally, I think is a little bit incorrect, but I mean, it's not a big issue. And I think, yes, of course, that is because times evolves and people maybe don't know about what is Gabber is and what is Gabber style, and maybe they don't need to wear hardcore to enjoy hardcore music. That is also good. I remember that when in 2005 I stopped wear uniform of Gabber, I enjoyed anyway the hardcore music. I was Hakke, the dance moves anyway. And I'm starting to reappropriate in the last year because I'm become old and so more nostalgic. And so I'm starting to buy all the clothes and these kind of things, but it's more like a fetishism for me. And but yes, I think it's true. Yeah. Yes, of course. On one side, it's okay. I don't care if someone love our Gabbers and don't act and don't know. And I think on the other side, there is more tools now to discover it. Yes. And to discover it in a more clean way, and not just with the ugly picture of Gabber on Google that it's okay.
Of course. Yeah. Do you think that this could become like a trend? Like techno now is, in a way,
it's already a trend. I mean, it's already a trend from a couple of years. Maybe, I mean, if I don't care about the trend. I mean, as I told, for me is part of my life and will be part of my life forever. Yeah. So if some DJs want to jump on the trend for 1 year, 2 years, I mean, it's up to him. I don't care. And I don't...
we have a special guest.
Yeah, my daughter. Vuoi salutare, Olimpia? Vuoi salutare Joseph? She's a
special guest.
She's a character. She's a good dancer, actually.
I think you have a new performance soon. Olimpia, ciao.
Saluta, che ti saluta perché ho le cuffie.
Hi.
Buonanotte, amore. Vai. Ti metto io, aspetta, allora guarda, 10 minuti ho finito. Arrivo. Ok.
Alberto will wrap up.
No, it's okay, don't worry. So that's, I think that trend is like everything. I mean, if you want to follow, it's up to you. I mean, I don't want to judge people. I mean, this is not me. I don't like to follow trend, and trend is for. I don't want to be rude, but it's for superficial. I mean, if you are not digging and not respect what's up, I mean, it's up to you, of course. I'm old to fight against these things. So,
yeah.
But of course, yes, it's trendy and somehow is also cool because a trend means that maybe new people can come and evolve in their own way. So that is, of course, the cool things of the trend because someone maybe is going deeper, they discover the story and with his own heritage, change it and remix it in his own way. So they keep it alive sometimes.
And it changes.
So
time,
revival, trend, they have positive and negative.
Yeah.
Everything is copied and taken because could be taken superficial, but also could be deeply, someone discover hardcore 2 years ago. I want to play because of course I like it. It's very democratic. It's very first approach, straight in the face. Okay, but let me understand the story. Okay, let's go and deeply.
Yeah, and I fully agree. It's one of these things that like I would personally not want to be the Nazi of the music. This is the style. It can't be anything else. Like
it's more like I mean, I will not say that words, but I think like more conservative, more reactionary. That you say everything should be like in the past. I mean, it's always like that in hardcore. I mean, a lot of people. I don't say hate my project, but I think they don't like it because I open the hardcore to people that maybe they haven't be part of that. But somehow I think it's cool because they bring new energy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's completely a different thing. Doesn't mean that it's gonna eat your cake. That is another type of cake. That is always this kind of argument about female DJ that come to to take our job. No, this is a more opportunity for everybody. That is my mentality here behind it.
Fully agree, and it brings a lot of fresh things. Every time there is more people, hopefully, is also like a occasion to expand and do more things. Yeah.
I mean, inclusivity is a signal for everything. I mean, why people should build walls in the music? I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, I agree. Amazing. Who would be an artist that of any genre, any style, not necessarily music, that you would love to have on the stage with you?
But for do what?
Well, to
drink with me?
To drink whatever you would like to do, and with whoever. Like, could be a person also who is not here with us anymore, like a person who died already.
I think I mean I don't know actually.
We can restrict.
I think I would love to have maybe Ian Brown from Stone Roses sing on my track, or Lindo Ferretti from CCP maybe doing crazy things with all the CCP guys.
Amazing.
Franchino, the vocalist, I love it. An Italian legendary vocal, and I would like to do something with the Nation's Name, for example, breakcore artist, and
nice.
I mean, this is the No, I never think about these things, but yes.
Yeah, of course. Any.
That is the music related, but could be, of course, other people. I mean.
Yeah. But I think it's perfect. It's just
maybe
like
drink a beer with Pasolini or something like that, or talking about kids in the suburbs.
That would be amazing. Like, imagine. And then, like, this is a last question.
Oh, Maradona! Fucking hell, is that also Maradona on the stage? True. Come on. No, poor rip.
RIP, rest in peace, Diego. Yeah, you lived a great life, and you are an idol for a lot of people. So, rest in peace. The question for like these are like two questions that are like a traditional bonus sound. One is who is a guest that you think we should interview at some point, and why?
From music.
Yeah, music.
I mean, you should ask to my friend Bill Kuligas from Penn. It's definitely interesting heritage. I think also Jazz Sylvia. I think is interesting also point of view a little bit more arts is Juliana Stable, that she also an artist, so could be a good balance.
Yeah.
And I would say also Gigi D'Agostino in Italy. I mean, come on.
Why not?
It's impossible. He's a diva, so it's impossible. And,
unreachable.
Yeah, and the other one that could be from UK, maybe because you was based there. I think DJ Slipmat is legendary hardcore DJ.
Wow.
Maybe not type of rain, but is still a good story to tell. I mean, old people, old artists, they have a lot of story. So yeah. I would like to listen. So that's why I'm suggesting.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the recommendation. And what question should we ask our next guest without knowing who that person would be?
What's your favorite dish?
Favorite dish, okay.
Easy.
Favorite dish. And as you can imagine, you have a question from the previous guest.
Okay. Okay, which one?
Okay, I found it. Okay. Actually, there were two people, so you have double question. One is, when do you think you will start dancing again? This year.
You mean the club is gonna open?
Yeah, perhaps, exactly. I mean, you can dance
we
at home.
Can dance. We can dance at home. I'm still dance by myself. Sometimes Hakke in front of the glass. Sometimes still like I was a teenager in my bedroom, but I have a noisy parquet, the wood floor, so I can't really dance. But I dance a lot with my family. We had fun a lot and dancing. For example, 2 weeks ago was a 7 years birthday party. And I was a clown. I'm doing a lot of funny things for all these kids, and I'm always doing like this kind of group dance. Now I'm joking, but I think that dancing is we should to understand that dancing is not a functional in the box. So if we can dance everywhere we want, this is a needing for human being. Yes. Dance is exactly as a singing. Also, if you're not good, dance is exactly as listen music, so it's a need for everybody. Yeah. The moves, I mean, and if you want to back in the clubs, I think that now is the time to rest. I mean, it's a time to respect people they are sick, and we have this responsibility as young generation. I put as young, I mean, I'm not so young anymore, but doing DJs, of course, is a part of that, to stay quiet for, of course, a little bit and come back hardcore 10 times more. So in that way, we can sweat so much time and put so much energy that is going to close because we made so much loud. That is the purpose when the club is going to open.
And it will happen. Sooner or later, it will happen.
The best things is come from a depression moment. So I'm very positive for the future because I know that it's going to happen a lot of creative things, because all the frustration to feel it for good and I mean in a good and a bad way will bring out so much energy that's in a creative, in the music, in everything will be a huge momentum when everything is going to open. Definitely.
Yeah. Indeed. And on that inspiring note, I would like to thank you so much, Alberto, for being with us. It's been great.
Thank you too.
Great chat. Pleasure to have you on the show. Great to hear your story. Is there any latest projects that people should check out if they want to?
Yes. I'm just finished a new book that will come out. I'm waiting the test press.
Wow.
The test printing, sorry, not test press, it's for the vinyl. The test printing, so I think that in 20 days will come out. It's a book called Archivio. Actually, it will be a series of books called Archivio with collect elements. In this case, I did it during the lockdown in April. I collected a lot of stuff. It's a record store advertising ephemera from early 90s techno and rave fanzine. So it's a collection of graphics, advertising, strange, crazy do-yourself, put it and collecting from UK, from Germany, Benelux, French, Italy, America, dirty style, do-yourself, bootlegging, all this kind of black and white fanzine style. And I will drop merchandise soon in 10 days too, a new Never Sleep merchandise. And in next year, I will release Never Sleep a lot of new music.
Very cool.
And I will back in studio too. So
very cool.
In January, I will back in studio to do some new stuff.
I'm looking forward to hearing more of the crazy stuff you're gonna put out, I'm sure. And I'm gonna put all the links of the things you mentioned in the show notes. And if at any point when you release the book or the new merchandise, let us know. We'll reshare it with our community.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. And thanks to everybody who listened to us tonight.
Ciao ragazzi. Ciao. Ciao. Have a nice night.
See you later. And I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay, guys, this is Joseph, and this is the outro. If you really like the content, I wanted to ask you, please consider liking us on Instagram or leaving a review on the podcast. Whether you're using that on Apple is very useful for us, and your comment makes all of our work worth it. Also, if you have any guests that you really would like us to chat with, let us know. We take any suggestion or any feedback, and we use it to improve and direct what we're going to do next. If you're a producer and you're interested in masterclasses with artists such as Scalameria, VSK, Romek, Lag, and many more, you can now check our website homosound.co.uk. We have plenty of classes and more are coming as well. So brace yourself, you're gonna get a lot of content. And one last thing, shout out for Vlad for editing this podcast and Declan for creating the content that you all see on social media. Plus, of course, big thanks to Juliana, Flaminia, Alessandro and Rick from TapeFeed for all the rest of the work at HoS Sound. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time at HoS Sound.